Hi everyone, very pleased today to continue with these real-life heroine interviews. And today I have Kdb Dominquez, and I'll tell you, I like to call her Katie, with me to talk about her life as a creative and a naturalist and many other things, including an advocate for nature and wildlife. And we'll do this within the framework of the heroine's journey. So we'll talk about what were you doing before, Katie, and then what was the call that prompted you to make a leap. And we're going to talk about two leaps in your heroine's journey. Let me just say, I met you in 2001, and I was just starting my business for women, Ruby Slippers. And somehow I got lucky enough to find you and ask you to do my business card way back then, which I don't use anymore because I've had my own heroine's journeys. But this was our first interaction. And then I could not let you go without saying that you also helped my dear mother come up with her published book, A Prince from Transylvania, and worked so well with her to help her make that happen. So anyways, we've known each other for a while. And so welcome.
Thank you, Susanna, for having me today.
And I think that I know that you are in your studio with some of your beautiful work behind you.
Yes, I am.
So we're going to talk about you before you had the big call that you received 7 years ago. And just say a little bit, I mean, I've introduced you as an amazing creative, but say a little bit about that. What was life for you up until 7 years ago? What were you doing?
Well, I had, you said two leaps. The first leap really was when I moved to Maine in 2001. And I met you within 4 months of being here, by the way. And I had moved from Malibu, California. I sold my garden design business. I'd been working really hard designing gardens all over the country, actually. And I sold the business and I wanted to move to Maine and be a photographer. So I did just that. And I was 41 years old, super scary, but super fun. And then a lot of things happened. And I have a husband now. And, I've been in different relationships. And I had been in one and it was really terrible. Mm-hmm. And in 2013, I moved out. And in 2014, I decided, I think I want to be a naturalist. This is good because I'm a nature photographer and a painter. And it was kind of a natural progression, so to speak. And I was turned down in the program, which was very disappointing.
And what program was that?
It's the State of Maine Naturalist Program. They accept 30 people a year, and they turned me down. And I thought, well, I'll just have my own naturalist program. But I had also read in the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, they just released the fact that our ocean, the Gulf of Maine, was heating up 99.9% faster than any other ocean in the world. And I thought, I'm going to be a naturalist, but a curious naturalist. And I will do a visual narrative of the Kennebec River watershed. And this will be really great because in 30 years, scientists can study it. And so I took all my things and I put them in storage. And I took a little base camp down in Popham Beach, near Popham Beach. And I went out every day photographing the edge of the Kennebec River from the Merrymeeting Bay down to Seguin Island Light and over on the Georgetown side, Arousik. It was all the Kennebec River watershed and everything is connected. And it was amazing. And after the first year, I moved back to town.
Just to make the point that it's a heroine who gets denied to be part of a program and says, okay, well, I'll make my own program. Instead of a response you could have chosen, oh no, woe is me. Okay, so now what am I going to do? But you just created your own. So sorry to interrupt, but I had to make that point about your heroinism.
No, well, it's true. It is true. And my friends, some of them were such non-believers. They said, you know what? That's crazy. And I really never heard from them much after that. And my other friends were cheering me on. You were one of them.
And
So,
those we call in journey language, threshold guardians. You're about to make a leap. And there are those voices, people around you, even your inner voices going, what? Are you crazy? Why do you want to do that? Put your stuff in storage. What are you doing? So, okay. But you
but
continued.
so for that first year, I want to talk about that for just a moment. And that is, there were ups and downs, but I had luck on my side. My car didn't break down. I had no health issues. Everything money-wise seemed to work out. I had a patron, and it was amazing. The universe did support that work. And I had, started a website, and I did a big exhibit, a Wilderland exhibit. But then the next year, when I moved into town, I continued to do it. And I continued to build my website and do shows and show at the Pembroke Watershed Association, because my whole goal at this point and in the beginning was, if it's beautiful, people will fall in love with it. And if they love it, they will protect it. So if I can make these beautiful images and post them every day on Facebook with lovely words and education moments, people would say, oh, I get it. Oh, I have to protect it. And I think that I've made some converts.
Right. You've helped them get to know it. That's what's so
Telling the
important.
stories
Yes.
of the systems of nature. The
Yes.
biggest work that really came out of this project from 2014 to today is, I am now a systems specialist. What does that mean? It means that I'm a specialist in the systems of nature, and every single thing is connected. Every single thing. So I like to tell the little funny story of the black fly. I think I told you that story.
Can you tell us?
I will tell you. So in the spring up here in Maine, we have these horrible little black flies, usually the month of May. And
They bite.
they don't just bite, they welt you. They're terrible. People hate them. And when you say to a room of people, wouldn't you look, can you imagine a world without black flies? Everyone says, yes, I can.
Mm-hmm.
A world without black flies wouldn't have salamanders or toads or frogs or tree swallows. Why? Because that's the only protein that is available in our woods, marshes, and fields that time of year. The only protein. So none of those little critters would exist. None of the vernal pond dwellers would exist. That's a story of the system of nature.
We need to learn to love our black flies.
And our greenheads and our dragonflies and our ticks and everything. How does that work? We need to learn. I understand now that we need to learn how to live shoulder to shoulder in nature as a partnership, because that's really how it was set up. Mm-hmm. We had all of the big predators. We had wolves and coyotes. And now the biggest predator really is a fox. But when we think of the whole system, it's a perfect system, and every single thing is in balance. And there's many systems. And if you can just imagine, when you walk out your door, there's all these circles. If you look at a squirrel, there is a system for that squirrel that he's a part of. He's the bottom of one system and he's the top of another. That's the most interesting thing. So every single thing has a story to tell. And when we peel back the layers and we take the time, it's magical, Susanna.
Yeah. Well, let me just say, for people who will go to your Wilderland website and see your photos, you'll see how it's magical. And another point I want to make is my understanding of Native American culture is they absolutely live shoulder to shoulder with the natural world, to the extent that if a beaver came and built his home on your pond or blocked your brook, well, okay, you leave the beaver and you go find another way to, do your water. So there you were. And my understanding is you go out every day. Well, you did when you were doing your project every day, even in the middle of the Maine winter. And you're still now going out.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to tell us that you received another, maybe even more urgent call to make another leap.
I did. And the call, it was odd. I'm an artist and a painter and a photographer and a curious girl. I'm always researching things and writing things. And if you go to my Facebook page, you can see that the posts are really all about nature and fun ways to learn things. And my website was all about visual. It's a visual narrative. It's about beautiful images. It's about paintings. Well, now I've been called upon to use my voice and speak up for nature. And after all of my studies in the last 6 years, I think I'm ready. I'm ready to speak out for the Kennebec River watershed. It is a watershed that I totally understand. I understand how it works, what lives there, the people that live there, the scars upon the land, the management that we're still doing from 1950. We know better, we can do better, but we don't. So nature needs a voice. And Susanna, the most amazing thing is I have all these people right next to me. They're biologists, they're running wildlife refuge places, rehabilitation things, animal control officers, and they're all speaking up. They're like, yes, let's do this.
But let me ask you, so here you are being visual behind a camera, having your photos tell the story. That's a pretty big switch to going to having to speak up. And so at the verge of that, feeling that call and knowing you had to do it, any threshold guardian voices come up and say, you don't know how to talk to a bunch of people. You don't know. Did you have any of that before you fully embraced it?
No, because my Wilderland project taught me a lot of things. And the biggest thing was to trust my intuition, stop, do this, and take it in, breathe, and see what comes out of the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, I didn't. But I have people right beside me that are like, awesome, of course this is what you're doing. So I have support that way.
And of course, trust your intuition. Heroine on the journey, that's the surest guide, as we know, you and I know. Okay, so then what was the instigator that made you start speaking?
So I went from artist to artist/activist. Okay, that's really different. How did that happen? It happened because the city of Bath decided, the city council decided that they wanted to have a 2-week kill of fox and any other small mammals on the south end of Bath because there's a rabies outbreak. They hired the USDA as their killing agent. They say they're going to trap and euthanize, but really, they're going to trap everything they can. They're going to cut off their heads and examine their brains for rabies, whether or not they have rabies. So I wrote a big thing about it on Facebook, and I kept sharing it. And our local people are like, what's going on? I didn't hear this. I didn't hear this. And one lady says, do you know how to make a petition? And I said, well, I don't know. So I went online and I'm like, okay, petition, which one are you? And I created a Save the Fox petition, which in 20 days had 960 signatures and over 460 comments, all in support of, whoa, this is nuts. So we're trying at this point to educate, to thinking of this not as a tragedy, but as an opportunity to educate, and possibly they will come to their senses, take the $26,611 that they've earmarked to kill a bunch of things on the south end of Bath and educate the public. Because Susanna, it's big. It's really big. We have a lot of people from cities moving here to our town, and they don't know how to live in nature, and it's scary to them. And they think when they walk outside, they don't have to pay attention. But newsflash, you live here in nature. And if you don't pay attention, you're going to get skunked. Your dog is going to get skunked. Your cat is going to be picked up by an eagle. We can't kill everything so you and your two pets can be safe. We really have to look outside and say, oh, we all live here. I need to be a better neighbor, because they moved to their neighborhoods. That's what happened.
So you're saying the bigger picture here is, because of where our earth is in the moment and continuing to develop, that this is going to happen more and more, and we need to understand how to live together with everything and everybody, right?
Yes, but it opens up a big, beautiful can of worms, because everything's connected. This is a city that still does things as if it's 1950. They mow their fields in August. They mow all the roadsides in August, taking away all the habitat for butterflies, for insects, for the birds that are traveling south starting in September. They count on that. But the city of Bath makes sure that everything is neat and tidy, and it is a food desert. Our city arborist plants trees that have no relationship with bugs. Well, that's pretty good if you don't want bugs. But if you don't want bugs, you must not want birds very badly, because bugs are bird food. That's all. So we need to change it up and do better, because we know how to do better.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of eye-opening that is going on in the city right now, because all of this information is going out, and people are reacting in a very kind and positive way. It's pretty amazing.
And who knew that 6 months to a year ago that you would be really championing this effort?
4 weeks ago, Susanna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about a big leap for you. And who knows where this will take you, because you chose to accept the call. I mean, another thing would have been refuse the call and say, no, not me. Let me see if I can find somebody else. But you jumped in with all 4 feet and took it.
Well, it was in my Kennebec River watershed. It was in the area that I call my Wilderland project. I was called to protect. I was called to educate. I don't think that we need to be nasty or mean or be crazy to people who don't know what they don't know. But isn't it our responsibility, if we know, to teach?
And what occurs to me, you talk about how you're wanting to show people the Wilderland so they would fall in love with it and then they would protect it. But of course, what comes across very strongly is how much you fell in love with it. And how could you not fall in love with it, being out there every day and getting to know the beauty of the Wilderland and the watershed? Yeah.
It is. And what needs to happen in our little city is we need to look at our tree planting. We need to look at our field mowing. We need to look at our little city park that's now a food desert, because they took out a vibrant pond and put in a cement pond. That's not an upgrade. It just isn't. So, but again, we don't know what we don't know. So policies in the city. What caused the fox problem? I will tell you. Many of the people in that area have called me because I'm the voice. And they said, a year and a half ago, they cleared certain little sections around. People did woodlot work. The Maine Maritime cleared a bunch of stuff to put in a new parking lot. When you get down towards the Campbell Pond area, there was clearing down there on High Street, and there's clearing up on the right side of High Street. But let's remember this, it's not just clearing. Little animals live there. They don't hide there, they live there. You don't go home and hide in your house, you live there. So we need to change how we think of our woodlots, of our properties. We need to change policies. So if you have an acre, why are you allowed to denude every square inch? Shouldn't there be a percentage involved? Did we do that along the coast? Why don't we do that inland?
Mm-hmm. Well, because we're going to be showing this to other heroines on their journey, I'm wondering what advice you have for them. I mean, as someone who has taken certainly more than one journeys, answered more than one call, made big leaps, and who knows, again, where this leap is going to take you. What would you offer as advice to women listening who feel that they're hearing a call to do something? They're kind of standing at the threshold.
Here's my advice. When I was 27 years old, I decided that I was going to be a garden designer. I did not go to school. I didn't go to college because I had a baby when I was 16. So I'd been working watering plants inside of people's fancy mansions. Olivia Newton-John, people like that in Los Angeles. Big, beautiful orchids and indoor plants. And I looked outside one day and there was a woman and she was orchestrating the building of a garden. And I looked at that and I'm like, oh, that is what I want to do. Well, within a year, I had my own business. And within 3 years, my bedroom was on the cover of Country Living magazine. My farm was featured. I was working for movie stars and socialites, which was my goal, because if you're going to work for a market that doesn't feel recessions too much, because, you know, economies come and go. And I worked really hard. But by the time I was 41, I'd worked myself into burnout and 80 hours a week. So I say, take the leap, pay attention to your heart, your intuition. You don't have to say yes to every single thing that comes along. And when you're really called, stand up and do it, because that's the universe speaking to you.
Wow.
I think that's my advice.
Well, that's fantastic advice. And so many people need to hear it. So many women need to hear it. So I thank you very much for being here with me today. This is just a great interview, Katie. And I continue to support you on your journey for sure.
You sure do. You always have. And thank you for doing this interview. I really appreciate it. And doing the work that you're doing with all these women to unravel how they can get to where they're going.
We need them. We need them out there being who they are in the world. The world needs them. So yes, go heroines.
Well, Oscar Wilde says, be yourself, everyone else is taken.
Is taken. And on that note, we will end, and thank you again.